All right, keep in mind I never had any fantasies of being a filmmaker, so this is going to be a totally amateurish event. Before we get started, you can see your new Norton's sister over there. That's a 72 BSA single cylinder B50 500cc single cylinder. You think this puppy is hard to start? That thing is incredibly difficult to start. That's an ankle breaker. This is in a state, I'd say, about a quarter into some reconstructive surgery, and ultimately will be just like the 74 Commando here. So, on the left side of the bike, the things that you really need to be familiar with. I'm trying to look through the cider as I do this. Of course, on this side, and you realize that everything on a British bike is opposite, is backwards of a standard German, American, or Japanese bike. In other words, your shift and your brake are on the opposite sides. Your shift lever goes the opposite direction. So your first gear will be up, and your next four gears will be down. Kickstart is on the opposite side as well. Okay, on this side of the bike, you have a mirror image of the other side as far as your carburetors and your fuel cocks. It's important with these older bikes that anytime you start, the fuel cocks are turned off. So anytime you stop and get off the bike for more than, say, about an hour, you want to turn them off so you avoid clogging your, gumming up your carburetors. So on this bike, this is the fuel cock. Now on the this side of the bike, you have the reserve, and these are the original cocks. But I think, let's see if I can zoom in. I don't know if the zoom is going to pick up. Yeah, there we go. You see the R. That stands for reserve, not right. Okay, immediately next to it on the carburetor is a plunger. And this will be used just when you start the bike. You'll plunge the carburetor a few times, and you don't want to do it rapidly. You want to push it down. Nothing's going to happen because I actually did turn it on. When you run the bike, you do not want to run with your reserve fuel cock on. You only want to run with the other side. Of course, the reason for that is if you start to run out of gas, you've got about a gallon on the right side of the tank for your reserve, and that will get you about 35 miles. So as soon as you put your reserve tank on, you want to look for a gas station. Don't run with both fuel cocks on. There's no reason to. So your fuel feed is coming from the left side, and it comes through the left side carburetor. So we'll go over this again, but when you tickle both carburetors, you want to start with tickling the left side and fill that carburetor float bowl first. So it all sounds a little complicated, but it's actually very, very easy. It becomes second nature. So on this side of the bike, zoom back out, you also have your kickstart, and this is obviously spring return. This is not a spring return, so once you've started, you want to use your ankle, kick it back in. You'll notice sometimes when you're riding, I usually have my foot positioned like this so that my ankle keeps it in. It sometimes vibrates out. It doesn't matter. The other thing about on this side is your shift lever. And if you can see here on the case, let me see, do we have the light on there? Doesn't seem to make a difference. Anyway, on the case is, let's see if you can see that. There we go. You have 1, 2, 1 neutral, 2, 3, 4. So those are your shift positions. Oops, sorry. So with the shift lever, you keep it in neutral, of course. Your first is up, your next 3 are down. That's completely backwards to other bikes, as well as being on the other side. Okay, this is a case cover. This is where your points used to be. This is now the Boyer electronic ignition. You don't need access to that, but that's what's under there. Okay, this is your oil reservoir, and I'll show you how to access that as we walk around the bike. Try not to melt the wire for the camera. So to access the oil and other interesting parts of the bike, you want to remove the back seat, the only seat. You do that very easily, he says. Use my right hand. By loosening. Yeah! Man, I must have been strong when I tightened that. Okay, I'm going to have to put the camera down because this is going to take two hands. I'll be back in a minute somehow. Let's see, how do I do this? There's a hole. There we go.